Hey there, it's me, Grace. I'm going to show you how to make a little shamrock. The yarn that I'm using is an alpaca blend. It is, let's see, the brand is Alpaca Warehouse. It's blended alpaca yarn made in Peru. It has 30% alpaca, 20% wool, and 50% acrylic. So basically you would wash this yarn in cold water, either on gentle or by hand, and you wouldn't dry it or iron it unless it's a very, very low iron, so just barely warm. And the reason is, if you wash it in hot water and dry it with any heat, it's going to felt just like wool. And that's fine if that's the look you're desiring. But for our project, you probably wouldn't wash these anyway. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make the shamrock. This yarn, as close as I can figure, is like a fingering weight yarn. It calls for a recommended needle size from 2.25 to 3.25 millimeter. So I'm using a C-hook, which is actually 2.75 millimeter. It falls right in that category. Let's see. So this would be like, if it had the symbol on the skein wrapper, it would be probably a number 1, which is listed as a super fine. It's a little bit bigger than like a crochet thread. This is a 2-ply yarn. There are only 2 strands. As you can see, if you pull it apart, there are only 2 strands here, so it's 2-ply. And so this is the size that we're going to use. You could obviously use a crochet thread, and I've done that in the past. If you've seen my old video, that's what I used. But I don't really like the way it turns out as well. This is a softer yarn. The crochet thread is fairly stiff, and I just don't prefer it, but you could certainly use it. You can use any kind of yarn. You'll just have to increase your hook size. The first way to start is to begin with a slip knot, so you leave a decent tail. It doesn't have to be huge because this is a very small project. You don't need inches and inches. So start with a slip knot. And then you would chain 2. Okay, so zoom in a little bit. 1, 2. And then you would work 5 double crochets into the last chain from the hook. So yarn over, put your hook through, draw that yarn through again. Now you have 3 loops on the hook. You would yarn over and pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2, and you're going to do that 5 times total. So that's 1. 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next thing you would do is slip stitch into the same So just pull it through, and then work another grouping of 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, slip stitch, and you're working all these stitches into the very same space. Another grouping of 5 double crochets. 1, 2, get a little bit more yarn off here. 3, 4, 5. One more slip stitch. Okay, now you can stop there. If you'd rather, you can go ahead and attach to the top of, or to the very first stitch here. You can just go through there and attach that with a slip stitch. That's up to you. Okay, the second thing that you need to decide, besides how many of the leaves on the shamrock that you want. Right now I have 3. You could certainly work another grouping of 5 followed by a slip stitch and then end off. The next thing that you want to decide is if you want a stem or not. So I'm going to show you quickly what I have. This is a shamrock, and I haven't woven in the ends here, so that's what those tails are. So this one has a stem. This one has no stem. So you can decide which you'd rather have. If they're going to be for table decorations, like you're having a St. Patrick's Day party, or you're using these for appliques or whatever, you might rather do the shamrocks without the stem. It doesn't really matter. They're going to be super cute either way. I kind of prefer them with the stem, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did that. And that is that I just chained however many. You could do 3 if you want a longer stem than that. Of course, you could do 4 or 5. And I'm going to go ahead and end off, so I'm going to chain one more, clip a tail, pull it through, and give it a tug to end that off. And then you're going to pull this tail and close up that hole in the middle, at least as much as you can. Now with the chain too, that's not going to be as easy as if you made a magic ring. So this is actually pretty hard. Right now I've got a big hole in the middle and it doesn't seem to want to tighten up. So one way to tighten it up is when you're weaving in your tails, you would go around the circle that you made. Just go in those stitches just like that. And as you go, kind of cinch it up along the way. This is why I don't like to make these. I don't prefer to make these with the chain, but it can be done. It just really depends if the center being open a bit bothers you. But see, this one's cinched up fine. Okay. I'm going to go around a little bit more, and then I'm going to turn and go back the opposite way to really secure that in there. Okay. Then clip the tail, clip off any excess. Now we need to weave this one in. So you just go kind of in and out of the stitches here, all the way up the stem. And then into the leaves like so. And then clip off the excess. Okay. So there is a shamrock, starting with the chain. In this second part of the video, I'm going to show you how to make the tiny shamrock pattern with a magic ring. So what I'm going to do is start with a magic ring, and if you're not sure how to do that, you simply go around. You can go around your couple of fingers, and what you're going to do is grab that yarn and pull it through, and then we're going to chain one to secure that. But it's basically just a very loose slip knot. You're not going to tighten it up to the hook. So that's the difference, and we're going to work 5 double crochets into this ring. And the reason I'm not chaining 3 like normally you would start a pattern of double crochet by chaining 3, I'm not going to do that because I don't like the look that it gives to the shamrock, and I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. But we're going to just go ahead and yarn over and insert the hook through the middle of the ring, grab that yarn and pull it through. We have the 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2, and of course that's our double crochet. So that is 1, and we need a total of 5. Okay, now that I have 5, I'm going to work a slip stitch. Just grab that yarn and pull it through, and then through the loop on your hook. And now we're going to make 5 more double crochets. Okay, when you get to the 5th one, you're going to make another slip stitch. So between each lobe, you're going to have a slip stitch. Let's make one more lobe. Slip stitch. Okay, now this is going to be a 3-lobed clover, or a 3-leaf clover. If that's where you want to stop, you can go ahead and tighten up your magic ring. If not, you're going to just complete one more lobe and then slip stitch. When you get to the end of however many lobes you want on your clover or shamrock, you're going to pull the tail of the magic ring and just tighten that up. So it just closes up the hole. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to chain if you want a stem. If you don't want a stem, you can stop right here and clip a tail. If you want a stem, you're going to go ahead and do anywhere from 3 to 5 chains. So that's 3, 4, I'm going to go ahead and do 5. And then I'm going to clip a tail, pull that tail through like that, and that will secure it. Make sure that the hole in the middle of the clover is closed up
and we're going to take a minute and weave in the ends. So what I like to use on the smaller stitches is a steel tapestry needle instead of a plastic one, because the plastic one is a lot larger and it won't go through the stitches quite as well, if at all. So I'm just going to go a little bit in and out here to secure that. You don't have to do a really great job because obviously you're probably not going to wash these in the washing machine, but these would be really cute as table decorations, lapel pins, you name it. I mean, there's so many things you could do with them. So I remember in elementary school that if we didn't wear green on St. Patrick's Day, we would get pinched like anything by the boys. They would actually follow the girls around and pinch them if they didn't have green on. Like every opportunity they could get to be pinching, they would do it. So my mom made sure that us girls had clover earrings to wear to school, so that if we forgot to wear green, we still didn't get pinched. Let me fix that back. The only problem with that was that they were small. So the boys didn't readily notice that, so sometimes you'd still get pinched. But I'm glad those days are behind me. But St. Patrick's Day has always had kind of a special place in my heart because I'm told that I'm part Irish. So, and I believe it because there's a lot of redheads in the family. But, yeah. So there it is. This is the one with the magic ring. So I used a C2 2.75 millimeter hook on this one, and I did another one here. This was with friendship thread, and this is a lucky 4-leaf clover, and I used a smaller hook. All it says is boy number 2. So, and I think I inherited this hook from my mom, so I really don't know, like, you know, in millimeters, I have no idea. Okay, so I have this one I did with just a worsted weight yarn. It was probably Red Heart Super Saver, I'm guessing, and I used an I9 5.5 millimeter hook. And so you can see that you can get a whole range of sizes just by changing the hooks and yarn sizes. Now, I did say that I wanted to show you what would happen if we started with a chain 3, and this is what happens. So let me clear these out of the way. But you can see this is the one we just completed, and the lobes are very round. On this one, I did a chain 3 first, and then the double crochets, and I didn't really like the way it looked as well. You might actually like it better. If you like this better, what I did was just start with the chain 3, and then I double crocheted 4 into the magic ring, but you don't have to do it that way. This one looks a little bit odd as well because I didn't stop between the lobes like I did on this one, where this is between the lobes here. On this one, I slip stitched to the bottom of this lobe. So in the chain 1 of the first chain 3 that I made on this lobe, I slip stitched into that and then made the chain. So it looks a little bit odd because it looks like the stem is growing out of the leaf, but so that's the difference between the two. But if you like this one better, just chain 3 first and count that as your first double crochet. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a very happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye!